Sir Peter Westmacott was the British ambassador to the United States and watched this with a seasoned eye. So, Peter, in your view, was this a success on all fronts?
Well, good evening, Richard. I think it depends what you think the real objectives of it were. It seemed to me that by offering this unprecedented, as he kept calling it, second state visit to President Trump, the Prime Minister wanted to get in early on during the second term of the Trump presidency. And he wanted to create the atmospherics and a good bilateral relation, given that a lot of Labour Party people had been quite rude about Trump in previous years, and wanted to, if you like, lay the groundwork for making progress on some of the really substantive issues. Now, on all that, on the pomp, the protocol, the lavishness, the gold carriages, the banquet, the state dinner, the time with the royal family, I think it was an unmitigated success. I thought the president looked thrilled, and he does clearly enjoy the company of members of the royal family. And we pushed the boat out in the UK in a big time. The only thing we didn't have was a blue sky. But apart from that, I thought it was great. On the other things, the investment numbers, will they turn out to be real or not? Let's wait and see. But they are, in a sense, manna from heaven for a government which is very short of inward investment, very short of economic growth, got too much inflation, not enough employment, and not doing very well. We're a bit in the doldrums, business-wise and investment-wise. So I think they were understandably focused big time on having the big tech industrialists coming to the UK. But on the foreign policy stuff, whether it was on Gaza, Israel, or whether it was on Trump and whether it was on Putin and Ukraine, I'm afraid, there wasn't much progress to be pointed to, but there wasn't a public falling out either.
Yeah, no, see, that's the point. I noticed President Trump saying, look, the Prime Minister and I disagree. And the Prime Minister sort of said, we don't agree on this. But it's almost by disagreeing publicly, they can sort of say, well, we know where we all stand, let's move on. It's not a saw, it's not a running saw that threatens to blow up. It doesn't help, I grant you, doesn't help. But from Britain's point of view, this is something that just they can move on from.
Well, I think from Britain's point of view, yes, in one sense they can move on, but except that we can't. I would argue that maybe Middle East and the whole relationship with Israel, is the UK really capable of putting pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu that the Americans can't or won't? Not really. But I think there was a hope that at least on making President Trump understand what was at stake by being jerked around by Putin, that there might have been some forward movement from the White House on willingness to sanction Putin and move towards an acceptable settlement. It doesn't look like there was much progress there, but I would rather hope that during the 50-minute or so tete-a-tete they had, that what the Prime Minister will have been doing is explaining to President Trump that this is about Europe's security and America's security, and that it is not in any of our interests to allow this guy to help himself to the neighboring territories of the Russian Federation.
Do you think, I mean, a lot of special relationship, a lot of nonsense spoken about it and good stuff spoken about it, and you must almost have special relationship tattooed somewhere on you. You must have heard it so many times. But do you think that the UK, Starmer has put the UK in a unique position vis-a-vis the United States, regardless of the different political difficulties that he will have back home?
I think probably yes. When you hear the President of the United States saying words to the effect of no two countries in the history of the world have done as much good as our two, and that the relationship is not just special, but even greater than that. And we've always been close allies and we always will be, and we speak the same language and so on. Yeah, I think all that is very much a plus. And it is a welcome distraction from some of the domestic political problems that the Prime Minister has had at home. He will have been relieved as well that there was almost no conversation about Lord Mandelson. Even in the press conference, it was brushed aside. So, yes, I think, creating the atmospherics for making progress, not just agreeing to disagree, but making progress on the things that really do matter, I think it was good. Obviously, they got nowhere on climate change. Perhaps they were never going to, but it does sound as though they had some sort of conversation about that in private. And it may be that over time, especially as, and I'm hear this from Republican friends, the president of the United States feels that he is being made to look a fool by being played by Putin, that with a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of explanation as to why this really matters to US interests as well as to European interests, perhaps there will be some forward movement in terms of putting pressure on Putin.
I'm grateful, Peter.